I've been in this business long enough to know when a deal is circling the drain, and honestly, I thought this one was done for. Sometimes the most meaningful stories aren't about the easy wins. They're about the ones that test your faith in what you're doing and why you're doing it, especially in the SBA world. Spring of 2024, Keith calls me about Madison Auto Body. It's an established Connecticut shop that had been George Gerard's life work for over 2 decades. Keith wasn't just another buyer. He was already running a shop nearby, as well as an insurance agency on the side. He had the experience, the passion, and the dream of being completely on his own. But when we ran those numbers through the SBA underwriting, it hurt. We could only justify about 60% of what George was asking. All the equipment he had invested in over the years was depreciated to basically zero, so there weren't really any other alternatives. Now, Madison Auto Body sits in coastal Connecticut, about halfway between New Haven and Mystic, Keith. He was patient through the summer, but I could hear in his voice during our calls that quiet frustration of somebody who's ready to take the leap but can't find solid ground to land on. And by fall of 2024, I had quietly moved his file to the maybe someday folder. I felt like I'd let him down. Then, early 2025, Keith calls me again. His voice was different this time, more hopeful. George was tired. After decades of building this business, he was ready to retire. He still believed his shop was worth more, but he was willing to work with us to make it happen. I reopened Keith's file and went back to our lender. When I explained where we'd left things and where we were headed, he was ready to jump back in. We all knew SBA rule changes were coming June 1st, and if we were going to make this work, we needed to move fast. Suddenly, we had a path forward. Keith would put down some cash, we'd provide the SBA financing, and George would carry a seller note with a 2-year grace period. No payments while Keith built up the business. It was exactly what they needed. What followed was honestly one of the most challenging closing processes I've ever managed. 16 months total, Connecticut tax clearances, multiple attorneys, equipment lists that needed constant updating, closing dates slipping from June to July to August 15th, then the 27th, and now the 29th. There were moments I wondered if this deal was cursed. Documents got re-executed, the consulting agreement had to be rewritten. But what amazed me about Keith is every single time I called with another delay or complication, his response was the same. Whatever it takes, Zachary, let's get it done. And that's when I knew this wasn't just about buying a business for Keith. This was something deeper. So August 29th, 2025, 16 months after the first phone call, we finally made it happen. Keith became the owner of an established auto body shop with experienced employees and room to grow. George got his well-deserved retirement and the security of steady income from the seller note later on. But you know what the real victory was? It wasn't financial. It was watching someone refuse to give up on a dream that made sense. It was seeing a retiring business owner find a way to pass his life work to someone who would honor it. It was proving that SBA lending can still do what it's supposed to do, which is help good people build the American dream. Keith's story reminds me why persistence and creativity matter more than perfect timing. Sometimes the longest journeys really do lead to the most rewarding destinations, and that's a story worth telling. If you, someone you know, friend or family is looking to start, grow, or buy a business, let SBA Loans HQ help you out.